Who are your mentors starting out in the business?
Spike Moore was one of my first mentors in wrestling. He was a regional wrestler trained at the WCW Power Plant. To kind of give you a little backstory about how I got in wrestling, that to me
Yeah.
is one
Yeah.
of those stories I like telling people because it kind of
Yeah.
inspires people. So, eighth grade year, I'm sitting in a place called a Business Tech Lab class, and my school teacher at the time, Miss Leak, asked all the students, "What do you want to do when you get older, and you want to become the adult, and what's your plans?" And everybody was wanting to be doctors, lawyers, teachers. And she came to me and I said, "Well, I want to be in professional wrestling." And I never forgot this. She laughed and she said, "Well, that's cute. That's a pipe dream. Now get with reality." And I never forgot that as a kid because she was like my favorite teacher at the time. So as a kid, like I was devastated by this. Now, from eighth grade all the way up to 11th grade, I never talked about it again. Still a huge wrestling fan. Still studied it. Did all the go out in the backyard with my buddies and grapple and wrestle around like kids all did back in the '90s. But I never talked to another adult about what I wanted to do. Well, 11th grade year, English class 101. Had a PWI magazine tucked inside my English book. Already finished my class. I was ahead of the schedule, thinking I was being smart. I had a teacher named Miss Diane Shrewby, who was a blessing in this world. She comes walking up behind me and she sees that PWI magazine. Now, instead of yanking the magazine away from me, she goes, "Wow, who was number one for this year?" And instantly I kind of panicked and was like, "Hold up. She knows what the PWI is? Like, this is kind of cool. Like, all right." And I was like, and I looked up and I was like, "Oh, and I kind of gave her the answer. And she's like, "Oh, that's really amazing. My son's a professional wrestler." And instantly I was like, this is the coolest teacher on earth. And
Nice.
she was a friend of my family's for years, but I never knew her son did professional wrestling. Always knew her son was a ginormous guy. So at the end of the class, I was like, "Your son's a professional wrestler, the one that I know?" And she's like, "Yeah." "You didn't know this?" I'm like, "No." I always thought like how cool he was, but I never knew like that's what he did. And she's like, "Yeah, he's Big Daddy Rhodes, and he wrestles on the local independent scene in Florida." I was like, "That's so cool." I was like, and this fell out of my mouth, kind of like that scene in the Christmas Story when he's moving the hubcap and it popped down. You're like, "Oh!" Same thing for me. I'm like, "Wrestling," and she's like, "So you want to be in wrestling?" And I was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh gosh, she's going to make fun of me." And she's like, and then and she said the one thing that changed my life, and I use this with every kid I meet, is you can do what you want to do in your life if you have the heart determination and you have the willpower to not give up when going gets tough. Now, this is a tough business. This is a business that at times can be very unforgiving, but if you stick it out, you can make it happen. But you gotta roll up your sleeves and put in the work. Best advice to me. Second thing she did for me, I got tickets to the next wrestling show coming to the area. You got free tickets. Come to the show. I'll introduce you to my son and also to Spike, who helps run the little local wrestling school. Sure enough, go there, talk to him. Next thing I was on mask is, "Hey, so you want to be a wrestler, huh?" I was like, "Yeah." And kind of gave me the tryouts and the dates. And they asked me the biggest question: "How old are you, kid?" And instantly I was like, "Oh," and it's like, "I'm too young, I know." So I was like, "Well, I'm only 17." But like, "Well, that's okay. We can still teach you some stuff, but you're not gonna get in the ring instantly and then bump around or nothing like that. You gotta start paying your dues." So every show, go to the building, set up, take down, clean up, do everything they ask. Never even ask a question why. It was, "Yes, sir, let's do this." And so I remember times that he would hand me a huge stack of flyers. Go around town, go to every telephone post you see, put the flyer up. Get on my bike, ride through, post them up. And one night, I get a phone call. "Hey, you got a suit and tie available?" Now, this is the weirdest question I heard at that age. I'm like, "Yeah, I got a suit for Sunday for church. Why?" "Good. Bring it with you." "Okay." And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, why is he asking me this? So, wear my suit, go to the show. Well, found out that their ring announcer and commentator, who always was at every show, didn't make it that night. So here I was, young me, making my debut in that field. And so that was the beginning of me getting my foot in the door in wrestling business. And from 17 all the way up now to my age, I hate to age myself. I'm 40 years old now, but it's been this wonderful journey. So yeah, Spike Moore definitely is a mentor. Haven't talked to him in a long time. Need to reach out to him and see how he's doing. I know he's last time I heard he's living in Phoenix, Arizona.
Hmm,
But him,
yeah.
uh, Mickey Grant, who helped create World Class Championship Wrestling, taught me a lot about filmmaking and production of wrestling when it comes to that. Brutal Bob Evans, which a lot of people in wrestling world talks about, is someone who I consider a tremendous mentor to me. And I've also had other mentors, the Lone Wolf Bobby Blade, veteran of Kentucky wrestling. He was one of the guys that anytime I had a question or anytime I had self doubt, he was one of the first guys like, "You got this. Like, don't don't quit. Don't give up. Don't let naysayers get to you. You're going to do fine." And yeah, those guys I owe a huge debt of gratitude to as well for spending time with a kid that honestly they didn't have to spend time with. They didn't have to take 5 minutes out of their day to talk to me or um, just to drop knowledge, but they did it. And I learned from them. If you find someone who's hungry, someone who wants to learn, someone who's eager to do well, you teach them and you do it well for them. And you don't ask for anything in return, just to pass that knowledge. So the day that you're not there, then you got someone there to carry on your legacy.
Wow, what a great story. I mean, you're basically telling me that there was a time when there was one teacher you had just
The power,
hated the idea.
power of one person. All it is, one person can change your life. I tell this to people all the time. People say, well, one person can't make a difference. One person can change someone's life. One person, one simple hello, one simple hug, one simple how you do can save a person's life.